Hey everyone, this is Mike LeBrew, CEO and co-founder of Go2work.
Jake Guerrero, and CSO of go2work as well.
Welcome to episode 2, guys. So if you don't know, Go2work is a construction and skilled trades hiring platform. You can find us at www.go2work.com with the number 2. And then you can also find us on Apple and Android. You have a downloadable app. So we're going to be speaking about soft skills today.
It's important. But
So
yes, sir.
you know what? I'm gonna start with a story.
Let's go.
So my wife and I, we like going to Bahama Bucks. Does that ring a bell? Do you know what that is?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So it's like soft serve. Well, not soft serve. It's what is it? It's like a
like shaved ice.
Shaved ice. There
Yeah.
you go. Shaved ice. So we're big fans of shaved ice. When we went to Hawaii, we got some there, and it's kind of completely changed our ways. So this is a very interesting. So a lot of the kids that work there, they're 15, 16 years old. It's like their first real job, I guess, where they're like a real paying job. So we were there. We were in the line to grab our food, and we were in the car, actually. So it was the drive-through, and I needed napkins. My daughter's 5, so the back seat was going crazy already with shaved ice everywhere.
Understood.
And so the lady, or the little, she was, I'm going to call her a lady, right? Because she's 16, 17 years old. She's already a lady at that age. So she started giving me napkins, or let me go back a second. So I ordered the shaved ice. She hands it to me, becomes a mess in the back, right? And then I ask for napkins, and I say, "Can I have some napkins, please?" And then she goes, "Thank you so much. Have a great day." So she didn't even listen to me. But I'm like, the napkins. I have my wife laughing at me to the right of me. My daughter's just causing a mess in the back, and I need napkins. And instead of saying, "Oh, yes, of course, I'll give you some right now," she goes, "Thank you so much. Have a great day." And I'm like, okay,
with the chaos in the back.
We need to work on these soft skills for these kids, for this new age. So
great point.
I think active listening. I think that's one of the main things, right? So instead of, I think people, listen, not listen to understand, but they listen to respond. And that's huge. That's huge in the aspect of going into your job, right? And people are telling you things, your supervisor's telling you things, and you're automatically responding. And they're like, whoa, that I didn't even need a response. Or I don't think you understood what I was asking you, right? So I think that comes up a lot in that aspect where the communication, the active listening of where on a daily basis you're really trying to listen to that person, right? I think on our end we try to do that, especially with our sales reps, our development team, which is crazy, right? Because we've never met these people before, but we trust them with everything. But we're actively listening to them, see what's going good, what's not going good, and then understanding it. And once we understand it, that's when we respond, right?
Yeah, sure. I love that intro. It talks about, it really talks about the whole hearing versus listening. Yeah. You could hear somebody, but did you listen? Yeah. And so when you tie that to the soft skills of what we're talking about today and your job, those kind of go hand in hand. So when you break down the categories of which it's the social, methodical, and then the personal, and those kind of tie into that social and personal side. And that's where it, we're going to talk about today, where it has that value of why it's important to have that.
Why do you think soft skills are such a hard thing to come by right now? Do you think it's because everybody's on their phone?
It's such a great question. It's the phone, the new era that we're in, even just post-COVID with working from home, which a lot of companies weren't working from home. Now they are, so they're remote. And so it's kind of battling all of those while still trying to maintain a professional world, right? So the soft skills come in where you may be great at what you do with the hard skill, if you will. So how do you...
Like your job, and you know what you're doing.
At that. You're great. You can be excellent at what you do on a hard skill. That's why you got hired, right? Yeah. How do you integrate that to continue to, one, build relationships, maintain relationships, but also advance in your position? Yeah. That definitely ties into soft skills, and that's why we're talking about that today.
It's interesting, right? Because we both work in sales. We've worked in sales our whole life, right? And the soft skills of speaking to a prospect, to an existing client, it's like you can tell when people don't have that, and it's something teachable. I think it can be taught, but it takes a lot of practice, and I think that's what I think within this age, right, with a lot of the kids and stuff that are on their phones, they don't have like this like extroverted, personality. I mean, there is some, right? Don't get me wrong, but a lot of them just being on their phones from a young age, having the iPad kids, right? Where you ask them something and there's no eye contact. I guess like that's one of the big things too, is having eye contact when somebody speaks to you, having a firm handshake, right? Following up with a question. So if you ask a question, it's just not, oh yeah, 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 but you can have a follow up question to better understand it. Even that aspect of like when you think of like you ask a question and then there's a follow up question, like did you think about it, or was this person really listening? Right, there's little things to think about on that aspect. So kind of going back to that active listening, right? It's like, where are you able to really fully understand what somebody's saying, even through an email too? I think read emails and they just say, "Yeah, I agree," without fully. It's like, no, no, no. I asked you something. Have you looked into it? I think people are quick to respond now, right? Because I think once you get hired as well, it's like you just want to be a yes man or a yes woman in
It
that
happens
aspect.
definitely, yeah.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of things going on that scares me, right? For the younger generation, I think there's good things because they are more technologically advanced, but we're humans, right?
Yeah.
Human nature of speaking to each other.
Yeah, and kind of the importance of today is the soft skills. So, and I think that's whether you're, say, entry level or you're a VP or a higher level or you're in some kind of management.
Mm-hmm.
You are great at what you do,
Mm-hmm.
hard skill wise. You can kind of find what that looks like, but the qualifications to get that job.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whether you're entry level or even like a higher level, the soft skills are super important because there's many times that you could attest to, I can attest to, or others that we've talked to, where somebody in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So we say entry up to leadership. Let's talk about leadership because that's pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're excellent at what you do, but you don't know how to communicate to your team effectively, which hinders the entire organization when you're ahead of a type of team or a type of or in a
That's top
like a
down.
different department.
That's
Yeah,
top
so
down.
exactly.
It's literally top down.
Maybe you can attest to this, but I assure you can. How many times have you heard where their boss just is XYZ in the negative form?
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody can probably hate on their boss in some way, but a lot of those are going to tie into those soft skills. Well, how do they, interact with conflict, or how do they, go beyond with what their skill set is of that job, that position? You're in leadership because you're great at what you do, but now what about your soft skills? And that's where it's important, because whether it's entry level or even that higher up, those help and they matter to just build a productive and, like a positive type of team or environment.
Yeah.
And so it's important. You may have a bad ace, if you will, but they're terrible. They don't know how to communicate to their team. Whether it's good or bad, they just don't have that skill.
And that doesn't necessarily have to be just in construction or skilled trades either.
Absolutely.
It is even on, I don't want to get political, right? But even on a national level, right? If we don't have a strong president that has good soft skills speaking to each other, it's like a ripple effect that goes down within the organization, right? And you start having negative attitudes towards people. So I think that comes up with another big thing, right? Is that if you don't have those soft skills, active listening, teamwork, building on leadership, right? People might think of you differently. They think of this closed person, right? That doesn't, speak to it. And granted that everybody's different in that aspect. So not saying anything's wrong with that, but if you're able to, kind of speak your mind in a very eloquent way, I think that helps a lot with like communication, misunderstanding as well. So like this, if you have a team conflict, right? And you don't have those soft skills of trying to understand the person, you get immediately cut off, and then your mindset is like, oh, you know what, I'm not speaking to this person anymore.
I think that's a great point, because it's understanding yourself and that person, and that's why the value of soft skills is why it's one of the topics that we're having today. Is that so? It's kind of both. Do you understand yourself and how you present, how you are come off, or how you manage or whatever it may be, but how you present yourself, and do you understand yourself to make changes, and also do you understand that person to help you relate to them differently. Not everybody's cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And so that's where soft skills can come in, because it is broken down in those different categories. And some of those are dealing with the personal or social or even methodical, where you have to think about on a soft skill level about how you are able to talk to Jane Doe or John Doe. They're different people. And so that does matter.
So you're
that
saying
keeps the integrity and the structure for that team,
the adaptability then.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? That's such a
it starts with the awareness of yourself. Do you understand yourself first? How much, on a 1 to 10 scale, if you will, just arbitrarily, are you a 6.5? Are you a 7? Cool.
Yeah.
Find out where you think you are, and maybe even do some online assessments, right? We can get into that too, but give yourself an idea and then say, where can I improve? And then that's where you can start, kind of filling those gaps in. But it is starting with self-awareness.
Having an honest conversation with yourself. I think with us, right, we're two different people in that aspect, right? Like I'm a little bit more conservative in some aspects of like how I portray myself. You're out there, love it,
a little bit,
which is great, right? But I think the adaptability of each other, of knowing each other, of our strong suits, what you need help on, what I need help on, right?
I love that real life example of us as co-founders, as business owners, and as partners, and as just outside of that ownership, we have to go out there and get it. We have a small team. We're trying to grow our company, and so it's super important that we understand each other, and that totally ties into soft skills, professionalism, all that. But that ties into that soft skill. The hard skills is am I a good rep? Can I do X to Y and make Z or whatever it may be? And so that's great. Beyond that, how do you grow yourself? And that's that soft skills. So it's important as owners and co-founders that we can understand each other, because we have differences that we think complement each other.
Yeah.
And so understanding that allows us to be productive.
I think being respectable is another, I guess, soft skill too that pops up, right? Is knowing when you're wrong, admitting to it, not taking it to the heart, right? I think in that aspect, people, when somebody tells you something bad about yourself, you automatically get closed off. You dislike the person,
things like that.
But that comes to leadership in that portion. Even if you're just a general laborer, if you're the superintendent, right, speaking to somebody of that sort, right, it's coming off as, hey, this is constructive criticism, and you put it in the aspect of, hey, this is what happened, this is why it shouldn't have happened, and I'm telling you this, right, because I want to make sure that we correct this problem. I want you to take on the leadership portion. If this happens with any other, individual within the organization, you tell them as well, hey, this happened to me. And it's being more understanding at the get-go. I think a lot of people, I guess a lot of leaders in that aspect, when something bad happens, it's more of like oh, this is what you did wrong, and don't do it ever again. It's like you're shaming your little kid on something, like when they break a toy, or, they put crayon on the wall, something of that sort, and it's automatically screaming. But it's, hey, let's take a step back. I understand this happened, right? What can we do so this doesn't happen again?
Yeah. What I'm kind of hearing is that when there's a problem, how do you approach it? How do you negate it? How do you solve it? Yeah. And that's going to tie into those soft skills. That's just kind of an example of just leadership in a way. But, another one could be, another example is where for construction, right? For what we do, construction, welding, or skilled trades, that kind of thing. So for example, you are a master electrician by title and by experience, by everything that's warranted. You are awesome at what you do. There be a position in that company where they need a leadership or master electrician. However, this individual is great at what they do, but they do not communicate well. Whenever they're brought with any kind of conflict, they're very
aggressive.
It's non-professional. It's not productive. It's very like the negative sides of what you're speaking about. So I think that's where you have that awareness of yourself to improve yourself, to where you're not limiting yourself, to where you're great at what you do, and then you're selling yourself short because you're great at what you do, but now you may be in a position to shine your experience and greatness to that other team that may not be allowed that opportunity because of your soft skills, because you come off aggressive, because whenever there's a conflict involved, you're like, it's not me, whatever the details may be. But that's kind of part of it, where it's going to hinder you, where if you don't sharpen those soft skills, or at least recognize them and then be able to sharpen them, that you're going to be holding yourself back because of the soft side and not your actual skill.
Yeah. The recognition point, like the self-realization, like a lot of people see on their end, why is this guy getting promoted so much? Or, why is she getting promoted? Why is this happening and I'm not getting it? A lot of people don't have that self-realization.
Yeah.
They just kind of live as hey, I didn't get that promotion because whatever happened. But if you're able to kind of find it within yourself and say, or I guess the real thing is look at yourself in the mirror, right?
Sure.
A little bit of Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, you know what I'm saying?
I freaking love it. Man in the mirror. I can't sing, but
but in that aspect, right? And people don't do that. They just kind of live their lives. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people are just on survival mode, right?
At times,
but sometimes if you're able to just take a quick step back for even 10 seconds, that little decision that you make instead of going off on somebody and being understanding, that could give you that promotion that you've wanted so much.
I love that you said that. Let me give you a real example. This is in my last job. I feel like, so I got called in, so there was a position open for a new management position. It's going to be a new position that was being created because we had a fast developing team. So look, we needed to divide and conquer while still having concentration. And so when I went to that interview, it went well. I got the position at the end of the day, but I remember the conversation between me and my leadership saying, "Hey, look, there's another person that's involved that we're kind of debating between you and him," and maybe it's my own speculation, but also with maybe what was shared with me was, I think what ultimately got me that position was the call outs that I had and the things that they had concern with the other person. So man, you're a team player. You're always willing to do this. This is whenever I wasn't in leadership, but I was always showing leadership skills I'm interacting with the team. If they come to me, I'm not like, oh, leave me alone, or I'm busy. I'm like, sure, what do you got? And so this other individual was great at what they did. Their hard skills, me and him as sales reps, were great. Why did I get that position? I truly believe it's the soft side of how I am, how I interact, how when people approach me whenever I'm under stress or I'm busy, but I have time for them. All of that ties into that soft skills. And so with what you just said, I think it's a great example of, even for me personally, with why I believe I got that position, when me and this other individual, we're neck and neck with our skills and what we bring to the sales side. Now, why would I be a good leader? And that's where some of that soft skills, if not a majority of that, comes in. Because you're great at what you do, but can you lead? That ties directly into what we're talking about.
So I think when we speak about all those soft skills, one of the big things that pops up too is that problem-solving ability. Right,
sure,
that you're able, whether it's a confrontation with one of your colleagues, whether it's, hey, there's a problem within the company, or hey, you have a problem with leadership or something of that sort. What can you do on your end to find a solution? I think
I love that.
The problem solvers that are able to become very streamlined, efficient, effective, those are the ones that keep on rising little by little. So I think what you can do on your end, right, as within construction or skilled trades, is find that person that you want to be like, that's doing great, that you see that's consistently, getting the promotion, that's consistently, doing what you want to do in the future, right? Become friends with that person.
I was going to say, reach out to them, shadow them, be there, be right there with them if that allows it. But I love that, because that's a great point.
And most of those people that you see that are continually going up the ladder would want to have that as a colleague that they're helping out as well, right?
I think that fires them up more too. It's like, hey, I'm doing what I'm doing because I feel like it's the right thing, and even though it may be hard, it's just like life. You're always trying to, better yourself, even though it may be difficult. But you're going to the gym, or if it's like that kind. But you're reading books. You're doing things to enhance yourself as a person. And so when you're doing that on your own, and then you have somebody below you to recognize that, it motivates. It's a mutual benefit. That new person gets to learn a lot of new things, and that person that's showing them that gets to be motivated that, man, I am doing the right thing. Let me keep pushing to go even further, right? And so I think it's a total mutual thing, and I love that advice,
And I think on people's end too, they feel like, hey, I'm a certain way. This company thinks of me a certain way. That thought can always change, and it's just through action.
100%.
It's just action.
Yeah. You can hear something negative about you or from directly. You had a sit-down meeting, and it was direct, or it was from the grapevine. But maybe take it from the grapevine or direct and say, okay, Don't go home and pout about it. Say, okay, what were they highlighting?
Take
That I'm not
accountability.
look in the mirror, like you said, and then take accountability and say, okay, cool. With this podcast, we're hoping that this brings enlightenment to say, I never thought about soft skills. Well, hell, I'm the best welder. I'm the best sales guy. I'm the best whatever. But I wasn't focusing on that. And so that's
You
one
were
of those
just
things.
focusing at your tasks at hand.
Yeah,
And people
the hard
forget
skill
it.
side.
Yeah, people really forget that aspect of it, I would say. It's insane to me that you go out through your, daily life, and I guess it's a bit hard on the aspects of remote work, with construction and skilled trades. You're usually at the office or you're
Right.
on site,
Right.
whether you're doing so you're always interacting with somebody else, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you want yourself to be portrayed at? Hey, the guy that helps everybody out,
Mm-hmm.
that's the problem solver, that's able to mentor you in some
Yeah.
aspects. And a lot of the skilled trade schools that we work with, right? You see the mentors, the people that are running the classes, right? And they're always willing to help. They're always willing to speak to you. They're
Mm-hmm.
always willing to give you insight, not only at your job, but in life. And if you're willing to do that,
Yep.
man, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say too is that it doesn't mean you have to be a yes man.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that, but when you
Sometimes
sharpen,
it's good not to be a yes man in
so
certain aspects,
I
right?
love that, and that's where it goes to the point of if you sharpen these soft skills that we're mentioning, that is going to put you in that position to stand up against certain times where you're not a yes man, but you gain respect from that. Now, there can be times because there's politics involved with companies, so you maybe put a target on your back. So, when which direction you're walking. But my main point is, with sharpened soft skills, there may be a time where there is a chance for you to say something or stand up and not be the yes man because you have the right soft skills because you sharpen them and you can communicate and portray the point clearly to have the team or whoever the leadership is say, you know what, that's a great point. Versus like, oh, he's not a yes man. We don't like him. Now, again, it's politics, but when you at least have those soft skills, it'll allow you that opportunity to recognize it and then be able to communicate it and portray it the way the way, with integrity that you see it as.
How would you create that in a workplace? If especially in construction, right? Where a lot of these guys, it's hard labor. You're out there sometime. Well, in Houston, we're here in Houston in the summer. It's 120 degrees outside. It feels like, right? So people are pissed off. It's hot. Like, what would you do on your end if you're a superintendent? If you're a project manager, what would you do on your end? You think to kind of bring those soft skills out, or like if somebody's having a bad day, like weekly meetings, like what are you thinking on that?
There's probably an array of things you can do, depending on project to project or the company to company. But I think communication is important. So if it's weekly, some kind of cadence of a meeting, right? And I think in that meeting, if we go with that notion, is do we understand what it is? Is because if we're talking about construction, they're saying, look, if the topic is it's that hot outside, okay, what can we do? So one, communicate to make sure we have their needs. Is it just hot? Okay, can I get a little pack of Gatorade, some waters? Can I get some wet towels to put on their neck? Things to where I can actually cater to my employees within the realm of possibility, right? So if it is construction site and it is just the heat, do we make sure there's extra Gatorade on site? Is there extra water? Do we give them, look, let me just give them, let me double their breaks. Their breaks are, we get one break out of 8 hours, whatever it is for them. Maybe we give them 2, maybe we give them an extended lunch, things like that may shave off time on the clock. But when you look at morale and you look at just the culture, all that ties into your soft skills. So the soft skills is probably more of the communication things.
Yeah.
However, just with that meeting could be communication to allow you to put those physical things in place or give extra breaks. That's just kind of one thing, but I think that ties into the communication part and how you communicate.
And I guess it doesn't have to necessarily just be construction skill trades. Obviously, that's what we do, we focus on, but you can take that into account in any other.
Yeah. And I think that starts with your self-awareness, right? It's personal, social, and methodical breakdown of the categories. So soft skills are within those categories. Start with each one. And one of self-awareness is, okay, do I recognize my own self? What are my hot points? What triggers me? I think self-awareness is important. And then when you have that, it allows you to, first of all, you got to recognize soft skills. What are they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then understand where self-awareness within the categories of soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing them, recognizing your own, and then recognizing or understanding what you need to do, read books, shows, YouTube videos, things like that, listen to these podcasts, to say, you know what, maybe I didn't want to admit it, but I could sharpen this and this. And now you have something to look forward to or start to practice. And weirdly, say you're at dinner with your family, but now you've heard this podcast or now you're looking into these soft skills more to where you could practice it on the family or practice it at somebody more comfortable, things like that, you know, like public speaking. I have a speech on Thursday. I'm just making this up. Before that speech, I'm going to say, hey guys, family, friends, do you mind getting together and just let me, you know, do a little, you know, mock little presentation. Those things help you. So it is awareness. You have to be aware. You have to understand it first, be aware, and then start putting it into practice. But you do have to cognizantly make that effort.
Yeah. I think family is one of the biggest things. Is my wife always tells me, she goes, you wouldn't speak to your coworker like that. Why are you speaking to me like that? Like
and it hits hard.
And maybe
right? It resonates.
Maybe it's a Latina thing. They're just very like, and I think
shout out to the Latinas though. They let us know, like they keep it real. But I like that.
Yeah,
it does kind of put it in perspective, right?
Yeah, like you know what? I spoke a little bit loud. I say it's the Portuguese side of me, and that's just me growing up. My dad was never like screaming at anything, right? But it's just the way he spoke, right? It was just loud.
Sure.
And then, like in turn, what does that make her feel, right? Or my daughter? How does my daughter feel if I'm just speaking loud? She's gonna be taken away from that, and that goes into.
I love the personal example. You're talking about a wife and kids and a dad.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, wife and kids. You know, biblically for me, it's they're first, but it's your dad and your wife. But the cool thing is for your example, because I love your example, is you love them both. You want to cater to both, but there's recognition with, yeah, but that's how I was raised. That's how it is. We say, okay, but you recognize that that's not how you want to talk to the wife or the kid or whatever it may be. So that's the whole point of it. Like when you're in this moment, or if it's heated or excited, because I start talking loud when I'm excited. So it's not just upset either. It's just that whole thing of you recognizing this person over that person. And so maybe it's not family. So let's keep it with the coworkers. Same thing. Hey, Ben and John and Doe, they're different, but you approach them differently while not, you're not, there's no fluff involved. There's no BS. You just know how to speak and how to communicate, make it effective.
One of the major things that I've seen of all the mentors that I've had, right, is they know they're not changing necessarily their personality, right, around different people.
Yep.
But they know how to catch on to them really quick.
That's skills.
It's literally, hey, I'm coming up to you and I notice something. I automatically say something nice to you, right? To create a good starting point to the conversation, right? Or, hey, I see you with the cowboy hat, or something of that little sort, right? Yeah. Or if you know the person is in development, right? Asking them something specific about a development question. So like what's the word that I'm looking for? Like being self-aware. It's being self-aware of the situation, of who you're speaking to, of where you're at as well. There's certain things that you don't say in certain conversations, right?
Sure.
I think people are very quick to joke around in a serious conversation. And to you, it might seem funny, but to them, it's like, hey, that's kind of disrespectful.
Yeah, read the room, read the environment, understand that. So I love it because it is the understanding of yourself, and then the understanding of each different personality that you're leading, or even just working with as a colleague. Maybe you're not in leadership, but so it doesn't matter whether you're a colleague or in leadership. It's understanding the other person too and how to interact.
Yeah.
When you have a team, you have different personalities, and that's where those skills come in, to where you can cater to each one and leave that room productive, although you may have talked in a different way or a different fashion, to make sure that it's productive for them, for that individual.
We're talking about a lot of how to be successful. Have you ever had any failure stories?
Yeah. I probably need to remove some barriers where I deleted them. But I mean, of course, won't you start with one of your own? But of course, I think we all should have some, and I think that's what makes us grow. So definitely have some in my past.
Yeah, I think on my end, I used to work at Nike whenever I was, I think 18. Right when I turned 18, I got a job at Nike. And at that time, I don't know. I think I was still maturing as a person. Obviously, I'm
Sure.
18,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I still felt like I had good soft skills, and a lot of it what came from sports, right?
Okay.
Being in sports, being the point guard, I never grew in life. I say that 5'7", so I never grew. So that's why I was always point guard.
Same.
So in that aspect, there was a lady that came up to me. She was struggling, looking for shoes and whatnot. And on my end, I didn't realize that she spoke Spanish. I speak Spanish.
Mhm.
And like I saw that as a failure because I could have easily changed the situation if like I heard her accent, I knew it. But maybe on my end I was just hard headed, like saying, oh, you know what, I'm just not gonna help her because I was busy doing something else. But literally one of my coworkers came, started speaking to her in Spanish, automatically happy was sent out. And it's my dumbass,
She
like
has no idea that you have a cool
yeah.
accent and you're fluent.
But I could have just helped her out, but I was being
Mm.
hard headed instead of just saying, you know what, I know I had my problem solving ability. I could have fixed it right then and there, and nada.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that type of recognition, though. It's
yeah.
great. And that
And
does
from
tie
a
into that.
young age, the younger you are, and if you're able to recognize like the little spots you have to work on.
Mm.
Like I used to have I don't know if my wife wants to hear this, but I used to have an ex-girlfriend that used to call me out on white lies.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I lie? There's stupid little things I would lie about, and she recognized that and she called me out. And you know what? I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I'm never gonna do that again. And a lot of people don't have that. I still have friends that just tell you white lies for no reason. It's like, I know you're lying to me, so why would you do that?
Yeah.
And they don't have that self awareness because they've either haven't had a person in their life that called them on their bullshit, right? Or said, hey, you know what? Like being self aware and say, you know what? I need to stop that. Like, why am I lying, something about that? And it's
Yeah.
not even, it doesn't even make sense why I would lie about that?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I like that you brought up the age too, because I think they're God givens. You're
Yeah.
born with certain personality, or you're growing up in an environment as you're
Yeah. Just your
developing.
different environment. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're maybe not God givens, but you're the way you grow up. You have certain things that are built within you.
Mhm.
So when you get out into that corporate world, or like that, the business world after 18, like you said, there's things that you're good at naturally, that you feel like are natural, and then there's things where you need to recognize. And so that's what we're talking about today is, or not kind of, that's what we're talking about is, hey, what are you good at naturally, and then what soft skill wise, outside of that hard skill of what your skill itself is, recognizing that and building on that. And so some are given to you, some are developed with the way you grow up, and then some you need to recognize, and that's what is part of
So
it.
I
You
guess
have
one
to
of
have that recognition.
the big thing then I guess we're taking out of this today is being self aware.
I think about yourself, and then once you can, so that's a great start.
Okay. Being self aware.
First of all, let's say, do you know what soft skills are? Google it, look it up, take a list, look at the different categories. I brought up the three different breakdowns, if you will: social, personal, and methodical. But are you aware of that soft skill? What are they? Great. Where does your awareness within those soft skills with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And then third is in the professional world, whether you're a colleague or in leadership, how do you recognize that with other personalities and people, and then culminate all the three, or kind of combine all the three?
Yeah, going around speaking to people, speaking to what your coworkers are doing. I think one of the big things too, this was another story, kind of going on to that Spanish, right? Is how are you creating relationships with your coworkers?
What do you mean by that? But I love it.
So speaking, like, for instance, right? In our world, a lot of the guys that are working here speak Spanish, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ones you see, the guys that try to learn their language, they become best friends because they see you trying,
Sure,
right?
sure.
They know how hard it is. They're trying to speak English too, vice versa, whatever it may be. But the people that go out of their way to make you that make you feel special, not in a way, or make you feel welcomed, though that's a soft skill.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Big
huge
time.
soft skill.
Big time.
Feeling welcome, like a very like you are a very
right,
very welcoming person.
Check this out. You walk in. I love that. Thank you. But I like that you said it, because for the example I'm going to give is how I like to be naturally too with the welcoming. So you walk into a shindig or some event, and you're a little bit nervous. I mean, it's natural. Like, you're confident. I can talk to anybody, or you can't talk to anybody. You're nervous. You walk in there, you kind of want to be a flower on the wall. But then somebody you've never met, or somebody that has the awareness of the soft skills to say, look, I could tell they're new. Let me go give them a warm welcome. Now that person that's kind of timid is not a flower on the wall. They're kind of mingling, or they'll go and find another folk or other few people to go and talk to. But they came in kind of, nervous, and I don't know what to expect, but they still made the effort to go. So great for you on that. But then there's people that go in there, welcome them, make them feel good, and then they kind of drop a veil a little bit, or drop a little bit of a barrier. It's still up there, or maybe it's not, but it helps to reduce that, and that's important. That's a great example of importance of soft skills. From walking into something new to being nervous, or like, man, I talked to Shelly. You don't even know who Shelly is, but she gave you a warm welcome, or Ben. And now you feel more comfortable, or same for that.
Yeah, literally bringing in a new coworker where you don't know anybody.
Well, if you want to talk about that, perfectly. That's a great example.
That's a big.
Yeah, I was kind of giving this a generic when you walk into a quiet room. Now, if you want to go to that office space, exactly. You want to elaborate on that, but I love that when you have that, because I feel like we were those coworkers when we were teammates together. Yeah, we would bring on a new person, whether they're sales or not, and just make them feel right. We show them some cool things about what we know about this company. Just really giving them that feel, and that almost changes everything to allow them to be sharper as their harder skills.
Well, doing it enough where you don't start gossiping. You know how some people come before, they're like, "Don't talk to Shelly. She's a bitch." Like
you want to avoid that. Now, soft skills and gossip is different. But we joke about that, but that's actually a great point, which actually ties into those soft skills. Having awareness not to say this or that, right?
Yeah, it's just not brief interjections. Hey, this is this and that, and then going from there. But all good stuff. All good stuff. What else you got? What else you got on your end on trying to create good soft skills in the workplace or?
Yeah, I really, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but what do you know what it is? Do you recognize it? But then you start, let's talk about maybe something 101, like a resume. How do you present yourself on the soft skills with a resume? Well, resumes are more hard skills. This is what I do. So some companies may ask for a cover letter. Some may not. It may not be a bad idea to just go ahead and create one, and make sure things about it. If you are creating one, you're bad at communication or soft skills, and then maybe don't if they're not requiring. But if you have the awareness and you start looking into it, now you're more aware, then maybe on a resume side, just keeping it 101, that front cover page will help you to kind of express some of that personal and social skills, and even the methodical side too. But that's more of the resume side. So but even on that, it will help you.
So that goes into kind of what we're trying to help as well. So within our app and our website, you're able to add a 30-second introductory video.
I love that. Yeah, continue.
So who I am, what I'm doing, this is what I aspire to be in the future, right? A company can see that and relatively see really quickly, hey, you know what, this person seems like a good fit for us, right?
I love that example. So we have a 30-second video on our profile. Once you make a profile, you can make a 30-second video. I love that you brought that up, because let's just say we're down to 3 folks, right? And they're all 3 great.
So you're a company and you have 3 resumes and they all look great.
Yeah, specific to go2work too. And they all 3 are great electricians. Why am I going to pick one over those other 2? It could very well be that 30-second video, because of how you present yourself, the way you're talking, just kind of in that 30 seconds, how much is captured of yourself which is just being natural. But that's one of those things where it's a feature that we have to allow you to stand out. And so it's only a 30-second video. It could be shorter, but that's a important tool to harness soft skills to make that video be the best it can be. And so I think that's a great point, because it may be a determining factor of why I picked Susan over John, because of how they presented themselves and how they carried themselves in that 30-second video.
I guess going into, since we're kind of like resume, we can go into a little bit of the interview side. So the interview side, when you're coming in, you're shaking somebody's hand, looking at them in the eye, right? What I used to do in interviews, I used to always kind of look around their office, see something that caught my eye,
a little something,
and say, hey, I saw, did you go to A&M, or you went to UT, whatever? Like little things like that. Or I saw your picture. I see, are those your kids? Like the icebreakers that a lot of people don't have. They'll come into the interview, just sit down and wait for them to get asked questions.
Yeah.
Like how do you set yourself apart within the interview when everybody else looks exactly the same, especially a general labor position, a project manager, where everybody kind of looks the same within a resume, right? How are you going to make yourself stand out? It's those little things, those little soft skills that you have that somebody will say and be like, you know what? I like the conversation that we had. He kind of kept it professional, but he also kept it, he had his own personal touch to it.
Yeah. I love that. That's like a detail, but it's such a good one to bring up too, because it's true. And those things do matter.
And then the follow up after the interview, right? You're sending an email and you pick up a personal thing that y'all spoke about. Hey, love speaking to you about this. I feel like I'm gonna be a good fit for the position. Those little things. As for me, if I have somebody and they reach back out to me after an interview and they mention something that we spoke about, I'll be like, oh yeah, that was the guy, because you have 30 different interviews you're doing that day or whatever it may be. That person makes it stands out because they have that soft skill.
I love that. I mean, there's so many ways to connect with somebody or based off what what they have around their office. So I love that too. So you travel, or you go to Disney, or you like Taz.
I love Disney.
I went to an office where he had all Tasmanian devil stuff. So I was like, you like Taz or whatever.
You like Looney Tunes.
Yeah. So but it is that kind of stuff. And like I said, some of it can come natural where maybe you're talkative, maybe you're not, but these are skills that you can learn too with practice. The best example for me is probably like public speaking. Raise your hand if you're naturally at public speaking. Probably one out of, I don't know, a million. I don't know. But I think if you go Google it right now, one of the greatest fears in America is public speaking. It's top 5, if not top number 1. Yeah. I think it's number 1. You're not natural at it, but there are people who are great at. You're like, wow, you did so great. They went and learned that. They recognized what they need to learn, and they had the awareness to learn, and then that's something that they develop. And so you can develop these skills, and so they're for everybody. They're for everybody that's in any industry. We love to highlight construction, and I think one of the main reasons why we brought up this particular subject for our second one is it's important for any industry, but definitely within construction and skilled trades as well.
Yeah, you see construction, unfortunately, it has one of the highest suicide rates. And if more people had those soft skills, speaking to your colleague, communication, kind of knowing what's wrong, I think we have a good way to reduce that number.
And so what you brought up there was soft skills will help you be productive in a professional world. But with what you just said, it's a very tragic type of, or like a
statistic.
Data to bring up. But soft skills can help that within the workforce as well. It's professional and personal. That's why those categories break down to that. Yeah, personal is in there. Social is in there.
At the end of the day, you're spending more time with those people.
If you think about it like that, it's so true. Yeah.
So why not create a good relationship, a very problem-solving, healthy relationship? And I think that kind of like it wraps everything up from the get-go of the resume, the interview, of actually being on the job, going up in the world, right, in the corporate ladder. If you want to be, there's some people that are just happy. I'm at my position. I'm very friendly. I'm nice. I'm doing my thing.
You know what? Hey, if you're not there for the promotion, learn soft skills to keep your job. You're the best electrician, but you're an asshole. Excuse me. And so that does matter. That is that kind of thing, where it's both. How do you even keep that? And so what we kind of spoke about today was totally is in general. But I do like to highlight go-to-work in our specification because in general, yes, but definitely within our industry. Like I just mentioned, I'm a great welder, but you walk up to me and tap my shoulder or whatever, I'm like going off and now I'm getting fired. Or now I'm not getting a promotion when you're amazing at what you do. And not that you're angry or you don't know how to communicate. You're just in the pump, the company notices he's excellent at what he does, but he's extremely to himself. He's very to himself. Not that you're angry or mad, but you just don't know how to open up with others or communicate. So it's not always like a negative thing to where like you should be fired, but a negative thing as into like, hey, don't hinder yourself. Don't hold yourself back. So
I agree. Good combo, my man. Good combo.
I love it, man.
I love it.
Let's
I love
go.
it. Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, everybody, thank you again for listening in. We have background checks launching very, very soon, so keep your eye on that. Follow us on all our social media. It's usually / go2work app on all our social media, and we're looking forward for the next one. But remember, guys, soft skills. It's something that can be taught little by little. Focus on the good things at hand of what you've done without within your life, and then also adapt, be adaptable.
Yeah. Learn it and then develop it, sharpen it. So be aware, but now you're developing that skill, soft skill. So love it.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Sweet.